What dark secret are you hiding from everyone?
When I was young, probably around age 9 or 10, I was walking home with my dog from a house around the block when he cut the corner and walked diagonally through the yard of the super mean old lady who lived at the end of your street. She was in her yard at the time tending to these really fancy-looking rose bushes she had growing in beds along the border with her neighbor. My dog was a very friendly golden retriever who didn't even really come near her and certainly didn't do anything threatening, but she sprayed the out of him with some kind of insecticide or other chemical she was using on her roses. I ran back home with the dog and hosed him off. He coughed a bunch, but seemed otherwise fine. I didn't tell my parents because somehow I thought I was going to get into trouble for letting the dog walk in her yard. I'm glad I didn't tell them, though, because I decided that night to sneak downstairs, out the half-bath window, and down the street to her yard, where I cut down every goddamn rose bush I could get my hands on.
My grandma was in a car accident and broke her ankle, so she stayed at my house and my mom or we took care of her while she recovered. I was entering puberty at the time and discovered that you could order porn on cable and was like a madman ordering porn. The bill that month came out to $500. My mom thought it was my grandma because her novellas were on like channel 50 to 60 and the porn was 500 to 600. I've literally never told anyone to this day. I am Latina and sex or porn for women is still pretty taboo in my culture, so that's why I'm so scared to tell anyone. Even if my mom and I are pretty open with each other, I'm still embarrassed. However, my grandma passed away in 2019 and I felt compelled to tell my secret, but my mom sees that story as a funny memory she has of my grandma that she likes to look back on and laugh about, so I don't know if I should.
When I was around 5 or 6, my mom and dad were fighting just about every day. Well, I was napping on the couch when my mom came in very upset, and she shook me awake. She asked me if I saw the girl my dad brought home. I've always felt terrible for this BC. I hadn't seen anyone but my dad that whole day. I'm pretty sure he was just playing video games like usual, but for some reason in my sleepy kid brain I answered yes. I said she was with him in their room. I'm honestly not sure why I lied like that, but they got a divorce shortly after, and I always felt like it was my fault. Until I recently found out my little sister is actually my half-sister, but that's a whole other story. For clarification, my dad had been cheating with my mom's sister, and my mom was cheating with one of their friends to get back at him. She thought he was cheating with a different girl, but found out later it was my aunt. Honestly, their relationship was on its way out. I don't feel bad about it now, since a few years ago we found out my little sister is my half-sister from the affair my mom had.
I have a son. Nobody but me and the mother knows. The mother was a really good friend who was somewhat homely and never had a BF and was in her early 40s. She always wanted a husband and a child, but decided at this point if she couldn't get a husband then she would have a child. $12,000 later she gets artificially inseminated with a whopping 12% chance of it taking. Well, it doesn't take and she's on a teacher's salary and her dream of kids and marriage is drifting away, and especially with the kid, time is of the essence. So I stepped up. We hashed it all out and we decided the story would be she got artificially inseminated and doesn't know the father. We went to a lawyer and paid a good little amount to basically absolve me of responsibility. To this day I see it like I donated to a bank and somebody used my sperm. It would have been $12,000 a pop every time she tried, and with this method she could try as many times as it took. Luckily it only took a couple tries. We'd wait till she was ovulating and I'd donate. So yeah, technically I have a son, but everybody thinks I'm childless.
My father touched me when I was younger. Like, a lot. It went on for about 7 or so years, as far as I can remember. Slapping on the ass, groping thighs, shit like that. My mother knew but did nothing. My siblings knew but did nothing. I've only told 2 people on this planet. One of them is about halfway around the world, the other is one of my most trusted friends. And if I were to ever talk about it with my family, they would most likely try to gaslight me into thinking I'm misremembering it or that it was all just play or something stupid like that. But I remember it very vividly. I remember how he would get mad at me for telling him to stop, or how he would simply laugh it off. Depended if he was drunk or not. It's why I hate adults making any sort of physical contact with me. as well as lots of other mistreatment when I was younger. It's why I'm ready to cut off contact with my family as soon as I leave for college. It's why I stay out so late and love my car so much, because it minimizes the time I spend at home. It's why I only care about my friends and girlfriend, because family doesn't mean all that much to me. I recently turned 18 and so I'm finally able to look into seeing a psychiatrist, without my parents finding out, to figure out my obvious slew of mental disorders, and figure out how to treat them. There's no doubt that I have my parents, especially my father, to blame for those problems. But I am getting better, because it's my fault if I refuse to get better when I have the opportunity. All I'll do otherwise is weigh down myself and the other people in my life. It kind of helps to get it off my chest like this, even if I'm going to delete this comment like every other one on this account. Thanks for giving people the opportunity to talk about stuff like this.
When I was younger, I lived with my grandmother. Not long after I turned 18, her health started to decline, that sort of decline that means she won't be around for much longer. Over the months, I did my best to take care of her, getting her to the hospital when she needed, and other things. We had someone coming every day to help her with things I couldn't. Well, what my family doesn't know is that the night she passed, I was in the living room watching TV. My dog was in bed with my grandma, and I started to hear him whimper and bark. I knew what was happening. I knew that if I acted, I could potentially save her. I didn't want to watch her suffer anymore though, to watch her live with so much pain, and unable to do anything for herself anymore. So I made the choice to let her pass before making any calls. She lived 92 years, and the only regret I have is that she passed a month after I would have graduated if I hadn't been kicked out of school. She had been in good enough health at the time to go to my graduation. I still kicked myself for how stupid I was back then. I'm not too torn up about letting her pass. I knew it was for the best. She was such a great person. She didn't deserve to live in such a poor manner any longer than she already had. I don't regret what I did. I regret what I had done that got me kicked out of school, that I didn't try and make it to graduation for her. I think I've lived my life so far in a way that she'd be proud of. Not graduating before she passed is the only regret I really have in this life so far, and I'm 35 now. So I think I'm doing pretty good.
I am super lonely. Like cry myself to sleep lonely. My friend group has subconsciously designated me the punching bag, and I work a customer service job that involves getting berated regularly. Between work and friends, most of my time is spent hearing only negative comments, including my own. My dating life has fallen apart. All the men I say hi to want nothing to do with me, and I never even get to find out why. So that drives my self-loathing. I think I'm a decent person, I'm decent looking I think, but I'm not very interesting. I don't have any real hobbies, so when I'm not going out with friends, I'm just home alone in complete silence. It just hurts that the times where I am with other people trying to feed off their energy to escape my own thoughts are also the times where I'm hearing other people make fun of me, often for the things I am tearing myself apart over. Everything I say is picked apart and turned into some kind of insult or joke at my expense, and I am often made to feel like I'm stupid or like the court jester. Sometimes I play into it because I need the laugh, and sometimes I get melancholy, which I am also criticized for. Bringing this up would not be met positively, because we had a former friend who left the group under similar circumstances, although she also did something horrible to someone in addition. She was very sensitive, so any complaint that sounds like something she would have made would be met with hostility and comparisons to this person, which would be extremely negative. Despite having friends, many of whom do in fact like me, and want the best for me, I just feel very isolated and like I don't have that special connection with someone. I would love to be in love, or at least just have a best friend who loves spending time with me regularly. All of my other friends either have partners, or that one special friend they do everything with. I am never that person. I am never the favorite person to hang out with or the go-to person to talk to. Some days I feel like I'm only invited for the joke and not because my company makes people feel better. I am not suicidal. I have no desire to hurt myself or others. I'm just lonely. I just want someone to keep me company because I feel I am drifting away from the only people I have in my life and I don't want to spend the rest of my life alone in my apartment talking to myself. I just want to feel like my presence and my company are treasured by someone.
When I was a kid, probably about 8 or 9, my grandparents, who raised me and my sis, brought home a seafood dinner from Long John Silver's. I grabbed a package with fried, breaded shrimp in it and gobbled them down, leaving nothing but the tails. My little sister, 13 mo younger, asked if she could have shrimp, too, and my grams told her that she bought a large order of shrimp for us to share. I felt bad about eating them all and didn't want to get into trouble, so I handed her the package with just the tails left and she started to eat. She crunched down on the first one and spit it out, because it was a freaking tail, and absolutely hated shrimp after that. That one night stuck with me, and I felt so guilty about it for the next 20 years, because she would never try shrimp again and I felt like I had robbed her of enjoying something she could have really loved. When she finally tried shrimp again when we were around 28 and 29 years old, and she loved it, I finally admitted to her that I fed her the tails all those years ago and that's why she thought she hated shrimp. I started apologizing and even shed a tear or two. She started laughing so hard, and couldn't believe I had held on to that guilt for so long. Now she lives by the ocean and eats shrimp all the time. It's been around 15 years since I told her, 35 years since she ate the dreaded shrimp tail, and I admit, I do still feel a twinge of guilt, but at least we can joke about it now.
Thank you for watching. If you like to watch more of these videos, please leave a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to share it to your friends and family. I'll see you in the next video.